Everyone wants to live an inspired life, yet so many people search for happiness following the footsteps of peers and taking advice from people who have different values and outcomes to which they're searching. There are people born into wealth, graduated from the best universities in the world, and there are people who have none of that and yet are living extraordinary lives full of fulfillment and reward. The purpose of this podcast is to share insights and strategies that allow you to question the status quo and think freely, so you can design your life and be who you want to be. We get one life. Time is our most valuable asset. I believe that when we're free and able to focus on meaningful work, we become better human beings. This is Always Free, and I'm your host, Jason Graystone.
Welcome to the leading podcast for financial empowerment and wealth creation. Subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss an episode. You can connect with Jason on social media and subscribe to the Jason Graystone YouTube channel for weekly videos. Don't forget to also subscribe to the weekly newsletter to receive frequent educational content and action steps to help you design your life so you can be who you want to be. For news on all future events and updates, go to jasongraystone.com.
Well, welcome back to the podcast, guys. If this is the first time you're listening, welcome. This is the number one podcast for financial empowerment and wealth creation. And as always, go back to number one, start there. If this is the first episode you've ever listened to, you'll get the most out of it that way. And if you've got value this far and you have listened from number one and you're really binging this and you're catching up with me, please share this podcast to other people. Actually, the topic for this week's podcast, I was going to start talking about how I've observed certain behavior from people during this pandemic that we're in, this coronavirus pandemic, and how I've really seen some people go into animal mode. And I've seen people kind of lose friends and unfollow people and all the thing. And I really appreciate that if you've got value from this, share this with as many people as possible so that people get on the right track with their finances. Because normally when they go into animal mode, it's because they don't have their finances together. And I'm not going to talk about that this week. I'm going to go into that next week because I promised that I would continue on trading this week. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about trading, and we'll go into that next week. But thing is, if you got value from this podcast so far, I'd really appreciate if you just share the love, share the message, share the work that we're doing in this podcast, because I believe it's very, very important work. So this week, following on from last week, I just wanted to delve a little bit deeper into trading. I went over some of the kind of misconceptions and myths and traps of trading last week. But this week, I want to kind of go through a very predictable journey that traders take and the wrong approach that traders take, so that if you're thinking about getting into trading, you don't have to, you can miss these or bear these in mind. But the first thing I want to talk about is really your problem going into trading. A lot of people think that they're the only one with a certain type of doubt or a trust issue, or they fear that they won't have the support they need, or they struggle with their emotions or discipline, or they might not be intelligent enough, or they're afraid of failing and all that kind of thing. And they feel like they're the only one. But the truth is there's only about, 10 different reasons that, or kind of emotional barriers that traders face when they go into trading. And they're the ones that I just went over basically. When I went into trading, I went on this learning curve, and I essentially blew about 40 grand of my own money learning and making mistakes. So I picked up a bit on the way, eventually became consistently profitable. But since then, I've worked with literally thousands of traders, and I've seen a very predictable pattern. And there's typically three types or three stages of being a trader. Okay, so the first, you might have heard of the unconscious incompetence, conscious incompetence, right? Where, first of all, you don't know what you don't know. So you go into something and then you realize, this is a little bit harder than I thought. And then you go into the conscious incompetence stage, which means you now know there's stuff that you don't know and you're going to have to learn something. And then there's the conscious competence stage where you start picking it up and you're understanding what you're doing. And, it's a little bit hard. It takes a lot of work and effort to be good and to be right and to be on target. And then finally, there's the unconscious competent stage where you're doing it for so long, it's like second nature. And that's like when you get in your car and you drive and you're not really thinking about it. I'm sure you've got from A to B before and not realized how you got there because you just kind of detach from the whole process. But there's three kind of different types of traders that go through that process. The first, 100% of traders go through that unconscious incompetence stage, and they go into trading and that they don't know what they don't know. So they're happy going into trading. They might pick up an app or something. And then where they move to next is the demo, what I call the demo king. Okay, so I've named these different traders, and the first one's called the demo king. So what they do is they dabble, they open up a demo account. You might have seen the apps out there, the plus 500s and the, trading 212 or whatever it might be. And you open up an app and you're just in the barbershop or the hairdressers and you're just showing, you open the phone and you're clicking buy and sell and you're just dabbling. You don't really know what you're doing. But because it's a demo account, you always seem to have wins. You're always winning, right? Everyone's been a demo king at some point if they've tried demo, because there's no emotional attachment to the trade. So you're going to have wins, and it's the sort of thing where you'll just place a trade, you'll go off on holiday, come back, oh yeah, forgot that trade was on, and you'll take it off the table and you're up gazillion dollars and you didn't really care. But if it was real money, obviously it wouldn't be like that. The other thing with the demo account or the demo king is they always have beginner luck. All right. So when they move into that unconscious incompetence stage and they open a demo account and they move into that conscious incompetence stage, they still have beginner luck, which actually can be more crippling than taking a load of losses, because you get a bit cocky, you feel like you know what the market's going to do, and then you just carry on with it, right? And then what they do is they then open a live account, and of course they blow up their account, right? They blow up their account, and that's probably 98% of the people that move from the unconscious incompetent stage to the conscious incompetent stage, and that's what I call the demo king. The next thing is, the next type of trader is a name that I made up called the wounded crab. And what that essentially, the reason I called it the wounded crab is because crabs move sideways, and it's a bit like their account balance. So this is where they're in that conscious competent stage. They're trying very hard, they know what they're doing, they know the technicals, but they're struggling with some discipline or some psychology, or they're taking low quality trades, and they move sideways, but they're bleeding profits slowly. So one of my clients a couple of years back, we looked at his account, and he almost had the same amount in his account after 2 years of trading the same thing, but it was slowly bleeding profits after a 2-year period. Now, let me tell you, if you're in that position, that's pretty good, because at least you're not just blowing accounts, right? If you can trade the same way for 2 years and only slowly be bleeding profits, that is much better than just banging your, a couple of trades and you've lost all your money. Because we know that if you're only just slowly bleeding profits, we can slowly tweak that and tune that to get that back on track. And that's what we did with that client. I said, look, go through all of your testing, go through all of your tune-up, your optimization. I want you to produce me a report on what's happening on each of the pairs. And he produced a report. He found some of the pairs weren't profitable. Some of the times a day weren't profitable on certain strategies. So he removed those, and wouldn't you know it, within a month he was in profit. So that just goes to show, the power of being able to just have that data so that you can go back and tweak that and make adjustments to your system, and then you're back in profit. But he essentially wasted 2 years of his life as a wounded crab, moving sideways, breaking even, or slowly bleeding profits. The other thing with the wounded crab, what they tend to do is, although they're really hammering the knowledge, they're taking in the knowledge and they're really determined to succeed at trading, they seem to be this kind of forever white belt. Okay, they go from one system, they're kind of shiny objects. So they go from one system to one system to one system. They get a bit discouraged because they have to put a little bit of work in. They don't want to do it. They see someone else trading something else, and then they go, it must be the system, so I'm going to go and try that system. And of course, every time you go and see someone trading and doing well in their system, it's because they're not in a drawdown, right? So you go and change to that system, you try and make it work, you trade it, you hit a drawdown, you think it don't work, you go to someone else and you look who's winning at that point in time because they're not in a drawdown, and you move to that system. And I always liken it to being a white belt. Like if you was to go and try and learn all the different martial arts, jiu-jitsu, karate, kung fu, right? All those different martial arts, and try to become a black belt in each, it would take you years and years and years and years, right? Whereas if you just honed in on one, if you just went for karate, right, or Brazilian jiu-jitsu, chances are you're going to become a black belt within 4, maybe 5 years max, and you'll be excellent at that. But trying to be a black belt in all of them, it's near on impossible. So they're this kind of shiny object chaser, and they're this forever white belt. And the other thing that they don't realise is there is a J curve to getting profits from trading. Okay, you have to kind of put time, effort, and money and resource into learning to trade. And then what people tend to do is just before they're about to open, let's just say it's a physical business. Let's just say you've put all the time, effort to train staff and buy coffee machines, and you're going to open this coffee shop. And then on the day before you open the doors to start bringing the income back in to replenish what you've already invested into the business, you just go, do you know what? I'm not going to open the door. I'm just going to go and do another shop. This is fun. I'm going to open another shop. And that's kind of like traders who go from one system to the next. They put all the time, effort, and money in. Just before they're about to reap the benefits, they go and, in other words, come for a drawdown. They go and try something else, right? I remember when I first went live professionally, 4 weeks later from going live, after I'd done everything right, I had less money in my account than I started because I went straight into a drawdown. And it was only because I stuck with a plan and I was around the right people that on that 5th week, I hit new equity highs in my account, which, was an incredible feeling. It was probably I always say it's the only time that I 100% trusted my own trade plan, and the feeling was truly liberating. So what you don't want to do is just before you get onto that level, you don't want to go and try something else, right? It's just crazy. And then finally, the last type of trader is the CPT, what we call the CPT, which is the consistently profitable trader. And the way you get there, right, is not to focus on just the tools or just the strategy or just the crypto community or anything like that. There's a kind of sweet spot between focusing on tools, the right strategy, and the right people around you, the right trading community. And I'm going to go through that in another episode, but that's how you get into that consistently profitable phase. You focus on the right tools, just knowing enough, not an information overload. You don't want to download the whole of a trading encyclopedia into your brain because you'll have conflicting views and you'll be paralyzed from taking the trade. You'll have paralysis by analysis, and it's no good. You then want a strategy with a positive expectancy. I'm going to go through that in later episodes. And then you want the right people around you, right? You want a good, decent trading community around you who, not a guru, not a trading forum where everyone's got their own idea and opinion. You don't want conflicting information. You just want people who understand, professionals who say, yep, whatever you're going after, just make sure you stick to your plan and keep focused. And that is how you get on the track to becoming a consistently profitable trader. And then you can go build a trade plan, again, which I'll go through in future episodes, how to build a trade plan. And that is it. Then you're on your way, okay? Then it's about consistency, knowing your numbers, having realistic expectations, not skipping the basics, not learning everything, because you don't need to learn everything, understanding your personality, which I went through last week, making it easy on yourself so it's not, you're not disrupting and upturning your lifestyle to learn to trade. Then understanding the types of analysis, what type of trader you're going to be, whether you work on fundamentals, technicals, or a bit of a hybrid of both. You have to understand how markets move and how to organize that chaos using a very structured I use a 4-step method called identify, predict, decide, execute. So lots to go through. Obviously, I've got lots to talk about with trading. I've been doing it many years now, and I'll go through all this in future episodes. But I just wanted to take you through those phases there. Just maybe you can identify where you're at if you're getting into trading, or you've been into trading for a while, and maybe you picked up on something and thought, that's me. I must stop doing that. I must work on this. Anyway, I hope you got value from this episode, guys. And again, if you did get value, please share it around. And until next week, have a great rest of your day and weekend, and I'll see you then.
For news on all future events and updates, go to jasongraystone.com.